evening, everyone. This is Michael, and welcome to our meditation, our readings and meditation from the destiny of the nations, with the idea of understanding and contributing to the soul of nations. I'd like to begin this program, as usually is the case, with great invocation number 2. There seems to be a kind of inevitability shaping up, despite a very anti-democratic response from well over 100 people placed in positions of power. It is indeed, as DK says, a battle, a fight for democracy, and there seem to be many who are serving the Martian red, if I can put it in qualitative terms, who think nothing of bringing down the democratic system. How this can happen? Well, it's been brewing a long time, and as well, the forces of obstruction have entered in, attempting to at least delay the entrance, humanity's proper entrance into the age of Aquarius. But their work is so subtle and they are so intelligent that they are not detected, except by those who really know and understand what kind of machinations are going forward. And so the enemy of human freedom is of considerable strength. And ever since the door to the forces of evil was left slightly ajar after the Second World War, they have been attempting to creep back into play and influence humanity for the worst. And that is happening now. So the rise of the totalitarian dictatorial tendencies are witnessed. We find that there are people who would like to centralize all power within themselves, and they do not care about the will and the welfare, the will and the welfare of others, of their fellow citizens in their country, or of the citizens of the soul of the United States and of all other nations all over the world. The battle begins here, where two of the rays, the second and sixth, are actually the rays of the Christ, as we are told in the Destiny of the Nations. A ray 2 soul and a ray 6 personality. This apparently is what the Christ is carrying. And I've often had the feeling that the United Nations, the central headquarters of the United Nations, will prove as well a kind of headquarters for the Christ when he reappears. Hence, I think the battle, because the promise within this Aquarian second ray country is very great to bring forward the divine plan and to bring forward the love wisdom in an Aquarian manner. And we are involved in this battle, we ourselves, as members or prospective members of the new group of world servers, and hence we continue to work forward so that we can offset possible interventions that still lie ahead, interventions from these evil powers and their representatives. So let us sound great invocation number 2. Let the lords of liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O mighty one. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O mighty one. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O mighty one. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O mighty one, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. We've been working in that excellent little book, The Destiny of the Nations. And when we can, we offer some readings to think about. And I would like to carry on a little bit as we begin to contrast the work of the sixth ray being withdrawn since 1625 and the seventh ray coming in since 1675. And now we are reaching the point when the ashram of the seventh ray will become more and more powerful in the dawning Aquarian age. So here are some thoughts. We reached them last time, and it's on page 110. So, the first step for the sincere aspirant is, at this point, to stop for a moment to inquire and discover whether he is working primarily under the sixth ray impulse or the seventh ray influence. Those two words tell us something of importance, I think. Impulse is spontaneous and oftentimes unregulated by thought, more regulated by desire. And the influence is a deliberate inpouring of this regulatory seventh ray energy, which will, I think, is appearing now the seventh time in coordination with an equinoctial age of Aquarius, the seventh time during the fifth root race. So that in itself is significant and climactic. Let's pause just for a moment, and it doesn't make any difference what your ray may be, your personal ray, let us say. It is possible to work under either of these rays when one has either of them in the ray chart, or not. So, under which are we working? Are you working? Am I working? The sixth ray impulse or the seventh ray influence? And I would say that all those who are looking forward and attempting to bring forward a clearer and more accurate idea of the nature of the Christ and of his hierarchy, the society of organized and illumined minds, that such people are working under the influence of the seventh ray. DK says, I use these words impulse and influence deliberately because they describe the general effect of the two functioning energies. Upon one thing all disciples and aspirants can rely, and this is the basis and enduring effect of all sixth ray potencies which have been established during the past 2,000 years. And so we have our idealism, we have our devotion, we have our one-pointedness in so many issues. We have the vision and the hope of revelation. We have a certain degree of obedience to higher things because of our idealism and devotion. So the sixth ray has been obviously of value, no question about that. But it's now being held tightly, clasped to oneself, and its time has passed. Except, of course, for larger cycles when it continues to be active. But on the racial cycle, as concerning humanity, its time is just about gone. By the end of this century, it should be gone as a major influence. So, these potencies have done something for us, and we can base our future progress upon what they have helped to build. These must be counted upon, these potencies, offset when they go against the seventh ray tendencies and understood, and the newer influence must then be studied. The newer methods investigated and mastered, and the new ideas and idealisms. The second has a more emotional component to it. The new ideas and idealisms must be brought through into objectivity, and so expressed in a new way. These are the seventh ray, ideas and idealisms. Only thus can the new civilization and culture be wisely and sanely produced, and the foundations laid for the development of the human family along right lines during the coming era. So, we're definitely in a turbulent transitional period, even now. This all was written about 75 years ago or so, but even now we are in turbulent transition, as must be obvious by the social unrest arising as different experiments and different forms of government are attempted. It will be of value, therefore, to compare the old and the new ways of discipline and training, because indeed both of these, discipline and training, were common to both the sixth ray method and the seventh ray method. Shall we say, will be part of the training of the seventh ray method. So we have to compare the old and the new ways of discipline and training, of attribute and quality, and of method and objectives. So we are attempting to bring forward that which is truly new, that which is new. Okay. Let us take the sixth ray methods of activity and its major characteristics first of all. They are for us the most familiar and can be rapidly considered, enabling us to pass on to the new ways of demonstrating and discovering the ancient wisdom. I guess every ray has its method of accessing the ancient wisdom, and there are many keys to the secret doctrine. So we can pass forward, after reviewing the sixth ray methods, to the new ways of demonstrating and discovering the ancient wisdom, and to the comprehension of the fresh modes of working, which will give new vitality to the work of the hierarchy upon the physical plane. I think I can read perhaps one more paragraph, but here I'll just make a note. Okay. Now I think with many of these things we are familiar, but a good review is very helpful, so we can correlate our methods with the really new methods. They are emerging, and they are emerging somewhat unconsciously through the incoming young people many of whom are quite advanced souls and want to get on with the work of the seventh ray. And many of them may represent the seventh ray orientation, even the seventh ray ashram. Okay. The outstanding characteristic of the disciple and aspirant under the old regime was devotion. Sixth ray of devotion and idealism. The race had of necessity to achieve a different and right orientation to the world of spiritual values, and hence the effort of the hierarchy during the past 20 centuries was to lay the emphasis upon the realm of religious values. So much so that that particular ashram, the sixth ray ashram, became in the minds of many the only spiritual approach. And DK tells us, that was actually a victory of the Black Lodge to narrow the whole subject down so that only the religious group was considered spiritual. Now that's opening up under the broadening Aquarian dispensation. The world religions have held the center of the stage for several thousand years in an effort to make humanity seek one pointedly for the soul and thus prepare itself for the emergence of the fifth kingdom in nature. So, as I said, we're in the midst of a much larger sixth ray cycle, in which, we're told, 21,000 years remain. So when DK says that world religions have held the center of the stage for a number of thousands of years, it seems appropriate. And it's all part of preparation for the emergence of the fifth kingdom. Under the fifth ray, largely, and the second, and Aquarius is will be the most powerful transmitter of the fifth ray through that constellation. So this emergence, this is slated, if I might use such a specialized word, to come into manifestation during the imminent Aquarian age. It's almost upon us, really, less than 100 years away before the ancient tendencies that have been with us for a long time are put to the side, Piscean and sixth ray tendencies. This age will be predominantly the age of worldwide discipleship. Humanity will become the disciple, and even to a certain extent, the probationary initiate. So this age will be predominantly the age of worldwide discipleship, leading later to the age of universal, that's always the Aquarian word, to the age of universal initiation in Capricornian times. We can imagine that many initiates of the third degree, as well as the second and first, will emerge during that time. Therefore, the great world religions have held authoritative sway for a very long time. Their peculiar tenets, adapted to specific nation, race, or time, embodied some truth through the medium of some particular teacher who attracted to himself individuals throughout the world who were spiritually minded, because he expressed for them the highest goal towards which they could possibly strive. And at the apex of such attractive teachers at the present time, we find the Buddha and the Christ. All the world religions have been thus built around an embodied idea. Notice we're calling an entity or a being an idea, have been built around an embodied idea who, in his own person, expressed the immediate ideal of the time and age, something towards which human beings could be drawn, could be motivated to achieve. He demonstrated certain divine attributes and concepts which it was necessary to present to the vision of the sons of men as their possible and immediate goal. In these manifestations, I suppose, of the teacher who is the embodied idea, in these manifestations, as I have earlier pointed out, the sixth ray influence can easily be seen. When, however, an individual's sixth ray influence can be noted in an era wherein the sixth ray is uniquely active, then the reason for the potency of the religious idea, as expressed in theological dogma and doctrine, and the universal authority of the churches can be seen. And we have been living exactly through such an age. And it is mightily conditioning. So we'll call this the end, end of reading. And today is the 11th of, no, it's the 12th of December. I think in the coming periods, well, we will resume when we will resume, because we're so close to Christmas, the solstice to Christmas to New Year's, that our schedule is very much altered, and many of the programs that we usually offer will not be offered during that period. So we find that the exemplar, the embodier of an idea, the embodied idea himself, uplifts others and presents a kind of idealism which was due to be presented. They are always with us. But when the sixth ray is also very strong, then we really notice the emphasis, and we can see the reason behind the potently presented religious idea or dogma or doctrine. Anyway, the authority of the church is now becoming the authority of a much more democratically constituted body that we call the spiritual hierarchy. It will be a much different type of scientific religion that we will be operating with, well-timed, cyclic in its nature, correlated with astrology, with ray cycles, etc. That's the kind of religious spiritual approach we will have which breaks through so much of the dogma which held in rigidity so many millions of people. Okay. Now, let's go back and get into our meditation. And hopefully we'll be able to do this correctly. Yes, all right. We're thinking about our role as the soul of humanity emerges through many differently qualified nations, displaying all the seven rays in one way or another, although interestingly we have no examples of the third ray soul which has been drawn to our attention. Every other type of soul ray is mentioned. I suppose there's been so much emphasis on the third ray and its misuse, especially in terms of economics, that it is not being emphasized at this time, though there are so many nations mentioned whose rays are not given, though their astrological signs are given. So we just don't know yet, but we expect that Tibetan will present these things to us in the third installment of his teaching. So let us let in the light which banishes fear, which brings eventually initiation in form of what we call enlightenment. The light which allows us to see how all things really are light. The whole universe being light or condensed light, a Kabbalistic idea. And our work is to take the light we have, intensify it until a greater light appears with all of its revelations, and we are able to function at a new point of tension. We take in the light, and we realize that the great Lord, the rider from the secret place, the Savior, the teacher, the divine psychologist, he is the one behind all of these positive developments which are pervading humanity at this time. And he is here on this planet, in this chain, on this globe, at this time. A great identity, a great reality. And we say together, with our thought upon the Christ, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. And we know that indeed he will be with us wherever two or more are gathered in his name. He is, as it were, the great spirit of relationship. He is the great teacher for all human beings at this time, in all the different nations. And it's not expected that there will be uniformity in the way people express themselves in the different nations. Different qualities of energy must be brought forward. But whatever qualities of energy there may be, they will essentially be expressing love wisdom when the ideal is reached. The love wisdom of the Christ, of the spirit of peace, the love wisdom of the planetary logos, and the love wisdom, finally, though there is no finally, the love wisdom of our solar logos, the great heart of love. Each one of us is a tiny monadic unit in this great heart deity. So no matter what our ray may be, ray and rays, in our present position, love wisdom. The indigo synthetic ray is the ray we are intended to express overall. No matter what nation we may find ourselves in, we have a local responsibility. These flags represent great ideals, as high as the constituents of a nation can reach and what they hope to bring forward. And the highest expression of any nation comes through its motto, supported by its rays, especially its soul ray and the astrological sign, which is correlated with the soul. Now let's think. If we are a citizen of our nation, we too have a motto in terms of our soul expression. Let's pause and consider something that we may have to dwell on in the future for a long time. But what could be our motto? And what type of gift would it represent to the soul of our nation and to the expression of its motto. We'll take some moments of silence to see if we can arrive at our own motto and its mode of contribution to the soul expression of our nation. And when we can find a convincing motto for ourselves, one that is based upon our soul ray and, well, not only our rising sign, but something more esoteric that is abiding, we could call it our soul sign, it remaining the same through many incarnations, then the motto will be the correct one, and the gift to our nation will be really helpful. And we should try, as we are experimenting with an individual soul motto, to work with it for some days or weeks or months and see what effect it has in our life. And in the service we are capable of rendering. And this, if we succeed, will make us a spiritual citizen of humanity, not only of our particular nation. And as we all know, citizens have certain responsibilities. They have to, in most cases, speak the language of their nation. And they are tested if they come from other countries. So what is this language that we have to speak? When considering spiritual citizenship? And perhaps, the language is the language of illumination, so that our words and our thoughts carry light. The language of love, so that our thoughts and our words unify human beings rather than divide them. And perhaps the language of sacrifice, of the sacrificial will, so that we are willing to give up or extend our personal will, so that what we think, what we say, what we do will benefit all of humanity. Then maybe we can consider ourselves a spiritual citizen of humanity. Responsibility, we are told, is the very first indication that the soul is really taking hold. It's not that the moments of enjoyment or release are necessarily indicative of the soul guidance. They may be. But it is good old Saturnian responsibility which gives us our citizenship in the growing world of the soul. So if we can hold as a responsibility what it means to be a spiritual citizen of our nation, expressing the right energies at the right time, that will grow into a spiritual citizenship within the great center we call humanity, with its billions of units. Our responsibility is considerable. It's something that we can deem worthy of some thought every day, our spiritual citizenship. We may be doing many, many things, but we are also among those who are building the causal body, the egoic lotus, of our particular nation, and thus the causal body of humanity, slowly building through our contributions and our executed responsibilities. So just remember that every one of us has a responsibility to add something of value to the soul nature, to the causal nature, to the egoic lotus nature of our particular country. We have to improve our country so that its soul may radiate, and thus we will improve the radiation of the soul of humanity. We will close our reflection with great invocation number 1, which calls for the forces of light to bring illumination to mankind, and that the spirit of peace may be spread abroad. And then later this evening, not too much later, maybe another hour, we will have our USA vigil guarding, the situation in our own way the best we can. So, thank you for meditating on the destiny of nations and on the soul of nations.